Good afternoon and welcome to CARE Ratings webinar on road sector, bridging gaps and paving way for the growth. I am Amod Khanolkar, Senior Director of Ratings at CARE. I also head infrastructure vertical at CARE. I'll be Master of Ceremonies for this web conference. Today we have with us some of the best minds in the industry, in the road sector industry, to deliberate on the subject. I would like to introduce the speakers to you. I'll be going in alphabetical order. Mr. Ashok Kumar Sharma. Mr. Sharma is the General Manager of Project Finance and Structuring, Strategic Business Unit at State Bank of India. He has vast experience of about 30 years to his credit in a credit department. Right, Mr. Sharma has held important positions both in domestic arena as well as international stints, with focus on large infra and non-infra projects. He leads a large team of senior bankers in project finance. His team specializes in transportation, oil and gas, steel. These are some of the key sectors that he and his team covers. He holds a master's degree in physics and is a qualified CAIIB. Welcome, Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, please.
Thank you. Our next panelist for the day is Mr. B.M. Rao. Mr. Rao is a Chief General Manager, Finance at National Highways Authority of India. He brings with him a rich experience of about 34 years in finance and accounts, business process re-engineering, and industrial engineering. He also has a keen interest in teaching and has covered finance, industrial economics, and industrial engineering as subjects. Mr. Rao is a civil engineer by qualification and holds a master's degree in industrial engineering. Also, ICWA rank holder, and is a qualified company secretary. Welcome, Mr. Rao. It's a pleasure to have you here on this forum today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will now introduce our third panelist, Mr. Mehta, Paresh Mehta. Mr. Mehta is the Chief Financial Officer of Ashoka Buildcon. He heads finance, taxation, accounting divisions for the group. A chartered accountant with more than 30 years of experience across various corporates and sectors. Mr. Mehta has been associated with Ashoka Buildcon Group for more than 19 years, and is felicitated by SEMA as one of the most influential CFOs. Thank you, Mr. Mehta, for joining today. Frankly speaking, this is the second time Mr. Mehta is gracing the similar platform. About 2 years ago, he was part of the conference which we held in Mumbai on infrastructure, renewables, and road sector. Thanks a lot, Mr. Mehta, for taking out time. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Once again, warm welcome to all the attendees and all the participants and panelists. Few preliminary remarks on today's theme. As all of you are aware, the road sector is going through a dynamic phase with vast opportunity that it offers to scale up. In fact, if you look at the national infrastructure pipeline, something like 20 lakh crore rupees of outlay is specified as far as the road sector is concerned. And if you really see, last couple of years, the two sectors in infra space which have been doing really well. One is the road sector, and second is the renewable. And this in turn throws up quite a bit of opportunity to monetize. Both government agencies as well as private participants have been working very closely over a decade to streamline some of these issues. Introduction of a modified variants of PPP is just one of the model which government sort of introduced to initiate progress in this direction. Meanwhile, what has happened is the toll roads, that's been facing some hiccups in terms of it continues to face ire of lenders, investors, developers, and then so also end users. The first three, if you look at it from the aspect of a cash flow mismatches, the expectation that were there for as far as cash inflows are concerned, and as far as the fourth party, which is the end user, is concerned, from a user experience perspective, in terms of the comfort or the expectation that they have when they ply on the road, there's a bit of a mismatch in terms of what they pay for and what they really expect of it. And this has led to sort of a appetite for bidding for toll road projects a bit on a lower side. Even the latest variant, if you look at it, HAM projects, it's faced glitches, and all of us are aware of it. And my colleague Maulesh, when he takes you through the presentation, he'll elaborate on those issues. Pandemic really didn't help any of these two waves we had in the past 18 months, and then that only created more challenges. Of course, lot of stakeholders came forward in terms of how to address this. Therefore, from an infra creation perspective, it becomes important to understand how the challenges are unfolding, how each stakeholder is addressing this, what relief measures are introduced by government and the authorities, and will this leave a sort of a sustainable impact and lead to a progress as far as these issues are concerned. It won't be out of place to sort of quickly mention that NHAI has achieved some phenomenal growth, in terms of awards and execution in FY21. The point being this, that will the tempo also continue in FY22? Will there be enough bidding appetite for new projects? And some of the related issues or questions are, is the regulator doing enough to address the issues? Are lenders turning overcautious? Are developers, are they playing an enabling role while maintaining their own credit profile? These are some of the issues we'll try to address in today's webinar. It won't be out of place to mention that CARE Ratings enjoys a prominent position in infrastructure space in terms of ratings. We rate something like 650 SPVs, and in that something like 220 SPVs will be from a road sector. These will be in various formats, HAM, annuities, and toll roads. What happens with this is this gives us and allows us to delineate larger trends on a portfolio basis, allows us to bring out issues and help bring out the larger picture, and that is what precisely we are going to try to do when we do the presentation from CARE Rating side. We bring out some of the larger picture, larger issues, and what we observe therein. Post the presentation, we will have panel discussion with the panelists, and subsequently we will throw the discussion open for a Q&A. I'll now request my colleague Maulesh to present the CARE Ratings findings and the insights. Maulesh is an associate director and also a sector head for road project. My other colleague Rajesh and Maulesh have worked jointly on this study. So over to you, Maulesh. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon and warm welcome to one and all participants attending this webinar. Today's presentation is divided into three sections. The first section comprises of the sector update with the award and execution of NHAI, various Government of India initiative, and NHAI's asset monetization plan. Second section, we shall present the study of 106 NHAI HAM projects, refinancing opportunities, and implication of these HAM projects on the credit profile of the sponsor. While the third section, we will present the study on the 105 operational toll road projects, outlook for these toll road projects, and impact of farmer agitation on these projects. Now, let's have a quickly glance of the key takeaways of this presentation. Government of India initiatives has smoothened the roadblocks with both project awards and activity execution has increased steadily, has witnessed a steady increase. Asset monetization through InvIT and TOT has also gained the momentum. Hybrid annuity model projects with aggregate bid project cost of around 68,000 crore are expected to achieve PCOD by March 2022 and hence offering robust refinancing of potential for the debt of close to 28,000 crore in FY22 and FY23. However, languishing HAM projects of a weak sponsor is still a concern for the sector. Road developers with a focus on a HAM projects is expected to post a strong revenue growth of close to 13% during FY22. Nevertheless, PBIDT margins are expected to drop by close to 210 basis points from FY20 level due to disproportionate hike in the commodity price as compared to the inflation indexation and impact of COVID-19. Competitive intensity has also heightened since Q3 FY21 with the relaxation in the bidding criteria. This has resulted into participation of the mid-size EPC player in the sector. Achievement of the financial closure of those projects and timely completion while adhering the quality standards are crucial from the credit perspective. CARE Rating has observed that peak bidder has reached to close 10, who's close 20 in the HAM front. Toll projects have outperformed the expectation for FY21 and remain COVID resilient even with the second wave. CARE Rating estimates a toll growth of 10.5% despite COVID-2 for FY22. Now let's look at this presentation in the detail. Beginning this presentation with the sector update. After witnessing a record high award in FY18, project award witnessed decline in FY19 due to increase in cost of land acquisition and challenges in achievement of the financial closure. However, projects award has increased steadily in FY20 and FY21 with the HAM model regaining focus again, as mentioned on the right side of the chart. In contrast to the CARE's expectation of decline in pace of construction has actually increased from 28 km per day in FY20 to 36 km per day in FY21. This is on account of the various NHAI initiatives as explained in the next slide. Adoption of monthly billing has not only added the liquidity of the developer, but that has also improved the pace of execution for the industry. Extension of time of 3 to 6 months has benefited the under construction projects with bid project cost of around 1,50,000 crore. Issuance of partial COD has benefited the projects of close to 6,000 crore. Introduction of FASTag has not only helped in curbing the toll linkage, but it has also improved the bidding appetite for BOT and the TOT projects. However, on the flip side, relaxation in the bidding criteria, which is intended to improve the participation in the sector, has resulted into surge in the competitive intensity, which we shall cover in detail in the next section of the later section of the presentation. Moving ahead with the key changes in the model concession agreement of the HAM projects, which is beneficial for the sector. In a bid to tackle the challenges in the operational phase of the HAM projects, NHAI has introduced some of the changes in the model concession agreement in the November 2020. Some of these changes are: benchmark for interest rate for annuity has been shifted from bank rate to average of 1-year MCLR of top 5 scheduled commercial bank. Linking of both borrowing rate and interest annuity payout to common benchmark is expected to offer a greater stability to the cash flows. Effective rate of interest annuity that has also been increased from 7.25% to 8.57%. Ceteris paribus, CARE Ratings expects improvement in the DSCR by 6% and project IRR by 110 basis points because of this measure. Phasing out of the construction annuity is also expected to result saving in the IDCs of the SPV. And last but not the least, permitting stake sale after 6 months from COD as compared to the 2 years from the COD is expected to boost asset monetization and InvIT launches. Now let's have a glance at the NHAI's asset monetization plan. NHAI has already raised close to 17,000 crore through the TO2 auctions and set ambitious target for transferring the asset of close to 1,60,000 crore through TOT and InvIT. While working in the same direction, NHAI has also filed for the InvIT with the enterprise value of close to 7,300 crore. Now we shall bring our perspective on the HAM projects. CARE Ratings has undertaken a study on 106 HAM projects awarded between the financial year 2017 and 2019. These projects comprise of close to 90% of the projects awarded in these periods and received the appointed date. These projects are comprised of the aggregate length of 25,700 lane kilometer, bid project cost of 1,20,400 crore and debt of close to 50,000 crore. Navigating the journey of these HAM projects, delay in the descoping of unavailable land, lengthy process of issuance of the extension of time, and weak credit profile of the sponsor are the prominent roadblocks. However, issuance of the partial COD while delinking or descoping the unavailable land, availability of the at least 80% ROW at the time of appointed date, and harmonious substitution of the sponsor has acted as an accelerator and helped in cementing the cracks in this journey. If we look at the progress of these HAM projects with the aggregate BPC of close to 1,20,000 crore, it is inferred from this chart that the 38% of the BPC has already achieved PCOD, out of which BPC of the 6,000 crore benefited due to partial COD. However, inherent execution challenges remain in these projects, especially to those awarded to the weaker sponsor. looking at the chart in the green and the blue shade, that comprise to the 37% of the BPC which are progressing timely or ahead of the schedule, out of which BPC of 22,000 crore are expected to achieve PCOD by March 2022, while BPC of 7,300 crore were facing funding issues from the sponsor and delayed. However, those projects are now bring on track with the harmonious substitution of the weak sponsor initiated by the NHAI, while the rest quarter of this BPC marked in the pink, those are progressing with the delays. While analyzing these delays projects, it is inferred that the 79% of the projects awarded to the weaker sponsor are languishing, and hence it requires remedial attention and prompt attention from the authority. Now, if we look in the next slide, we will look at the refinancing opportunity and CARE Ratings credit perspective on the operational HAM projects. As mentioned earlier, HAM projects with aggregate BPC of 68,000 crore are expected to achieve PCOD by March 2022, offering a robust refinancing potential of 28,000 crore of the debt. In order to analyze the impact of non-linear transmission of bank rate over lending rate, CARE Rating has developed a two scenario. In the first scenario marked in the green, where the BPC is greater than TPC, in a way BPC is at least 10% higher than the TPC. Those projects are expected to have a high cash flow resilience because of the low project leverage. Out of the total debt of 28,000 crore, CARE Rating expects 62% of the debt shall fall into the high cash flow resilience and shall be preferred destination for the lender for the refinancing, while 21% of the projects are expected to have a low cash flow resilience primarily due to high project leverage due to narrow deviation between BPC and TPC and aggressive bidding in the O&M annuity. In the next slide, we will cover the implication of the HAM projects on the credit profile of the sponsor. 106 HAM projects are awarded to the 18 unique sponsors, out of which CARE Rating has studied 13 sponsors who are also the EPC contractor of these projects. As seen in the chart, total operating income has witnessed steadily healthy growth from close to 30,000 crore in FY18 to 51,000 crore in FY21 due to execution of this project, indicating a CAGR of 19%. Aggregate order book of these 13 players stood healthy at close to 1,36,000 crore, offering a strong revenue visibility of 2.68 times of the FY21 revenue. PBIDT margin has also steadily expanded from 16.44% in FY18 to 17.28% in FY21. Bidding prudence marked by TPC being higher than NHAI cost and effective absorption of the overhead are the prominent reason for the margin expansion. However, PBIDT margin declined by close to 85 basis points in FY21. CARE Ratings expects decline in PBIDT margins by 210 basis points in FY22 from FY20 levels due to disproportionate hike in the commodity prices in comparison to the inflation indexation and impact of COVID-19. While analyzing the debt coverage indicators and the capital structure of these 13 players, it is inferred from the left side of the chart that the TOL by TNW has steadily improved from 1.42 times as on 31st March 2019 to close to unity times as on 31st March 2021. That is because of the asset monetization and the healthy cash accrual. Debt coverage indicator has also strengthened over the period of time due to improved liquidity, leading to the lower reliance on the debt. Interest coverage continued to remain strong at close to 6 times, and debt EBITDA continued to remain low at 1.151 times during FY21. Now, if we analyze the competitive intensity faced by the sector in this slide, as cited earlier, changes in the model concession agreement is expected to improve the bidding appetite. At the same time, relaxation in bidding criteria has intensified the competition. Waiver of the bid bond guarantee and reduced performance guarantee has increased participation from the mid-size contractors. As seen on the left side of the chart, wherein we have shown the median bidder and maximum bidder participated in the HAM projects from the period of 2015-16 to 2020-21. We can see that Both maximum bidder and median bidder has reached at its peak, while the maximum bidder has reached to a peak of close to 20. The same has also been corroborated from the chart on the right side, wherein we can see that the medium ticket size projects face a higher competition. We can see that projects with the cost of close to 1500 crore, they have witnessed a bidders close to 15 to 20 bidder. That indicates that increased participation of the mid-size contractor. Going forward, timely achievement of the financial closure of these projects and completion of this project while adhering the construction quality are crucial from the credit perspective. Now we shall share our perspective on operational toll road projects. In contrast to the CARE Ratings expectation of over 20% degrowth in FY21 due to impact of COVID-19 and lockdown, in actual, FY21 witnessed a degrowth of only 5.5%. Implementation of the FASTag, increase in the freight traffic due to the thrust of the government on the infrastructure development as well as the revival in the steel industry, and shift of traffic of the buses to car are the prominent reason for the toll performance. Even if we look at the chart on the right side, it is inferred that the operational toll road remain COVID resilient even for the second wave. After witnessing a steep decline in electronic toll collection in May 2021, it has rebounded and has reached to close to 95% of the pre-COVID 2 in the June 2021, and in fact witnessed a 16% growth in July 2021 over pre-COVID level, promising stable outlook for the toll sector. CARE Ratings expect toll growth of 10.5% in FY22 on a low base of FY21 due to reasons cited above. Now, the challenge faced in this industry, toll sector is the farmer agitation in the Punjab and Haryana. According to CARE Ratings, 13 national highway projects and 11 state highway projects in Punjab and Haryana were impacted due to farmer agitation, resulting into estimated revenue loss of close to 1100 crore till July 2021. NHAI has treated this as an indirect political event and announced a compensation modality as per the terms of the concession agreement, wherein the developers are eligible for the 50% of the O&M and interest payout. CARE Ratings estimate that this compensation shall cover the 30% loss of revenue for the developers and provide them the partial relief. However, 9 out of these 13 national highway projects, 9 projects were already facing the liquidity issues prior to this force majeure event due to sustained underperformance in the toll collection, and hence CARE Ratings foresee toll projects of close to 4,800 crore are at the brink of termination due to sustained force majeure event beyond 180 days. However, termination risk is perceived to be lower in the state highway projects of Punjab and Haryana due to relatively low debt level and their self-sustainable operation even prior to the FM event. With this, we conclude our presentation on the sector, and now I request Mr. Amod Khanokar for the further proceeding and panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Maulish. That was a wonderful presentation. Frankly speaking, I would not like to impose myself anymore, and we have experts to give their views and thoughts on some of the issues that we discussed. So I'll straightway move on to panel discussion. The first question is to Mr. Rao of NHAI. Mr. Rao, whenever we discuss the aspect of road development, it is felt that if effective resolution of the conflicts about arbitration claims and release of those monies in a timely manner, that's a need of hour. But what we see is there are a lot of challenges, and the experience has not been so smooth. NHAI, in fact, went ahead and constituted a reconciliation committee to address this. So my question to you is it what has been done? Is it enough, and should something more, or can something more be done? That is what we wanted to understand from you, Mr. Rao.
Sir, actually, as you said, no, there are so many disputes are there. NHAI has constituted conciliation committee of independent experts. About 3-4 committees are there. in order to assist the committees to come out with some recommendation. In NHMA, some 3 committees are there, 3 CGM committees consisting of 2 technical technicals and 1 CGM finance. So they will work out what are the claims of the contractor and what are the counter claims of NHA to find out the amicable solution. Regularly, the committees are meeting, 3 CGM committees are meeting, and conciliation committee of independent experts also meeting taking place. Exactly, I do not have any statistics, but compared to previous years, now the dispute resolution mechanism is NHA is expedited, and even every EC meeting also the executive committee is taking up what are our conciliation efforts we have made, how many outstanding are there, how many issues were resolved. So with this committee of conciliation committee of independent experts and 3 CGM committee, NHA is able to expedite whatever. Even we are requesting the even concessionaire also to come for conciliation so that issues will be settled amicably.
I'm sure. I think all the parties involved ultimately would want a quick resolution, a reconciliation, and move on with the project and life in that sense. But thankfully, today on the panel we also have developer in the form of Mr. Mehta, and how his experience has been as far as this issue is concerned in terms of a release of awards and arbitration claims. What's been the ground reality? It will be nice to hear from you all as well, Mr. Mehta.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So nice.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
Good afternoon, everybody. What Mr. Rao has said is definitely true. That conciliation process which has started, which has kind of was a solution to our arbitration process, which was more legal. Conciliation is more effective, and that has definitely helped in resolving issues. We also have preferred in various cases to go to conciliation committee to resolve issues, though it is not a dead end, but it does give you an opportunity to go if you are not happy. But generally, the intent is that to resolve the issues in time. And also another point which I would like to make is it's a time-bound process. There is initially a 6 months period where you have to resolve, and maybe it could be extended by another 6 months. So being a time-bound process, it helps in giving clarity to the developer and NHI to evolve what exactly and to estimate what is the exact amount of claims which arise, unfortunately, due to various reasons of contract terms or execution challenges. But I think so. Conciliation process has helped a lot in untying old issues in a faster way.
That's good to hear, because in a way you are corroborating what Mr. Rao also said, that there are over a period of 2 to 6 month intervals, sort of a reconciliation is attempted to be achieved. So that's good to hear. And my next question is again to Mr. Rao. Harmonious substitution of a weak sponsor has rescued some of the stuck HAM projects. As seen in the presentation, something like 80% of the projects are delayed due to weak sponsor. Should we expect more substitution happening in future, Mr. Rao?
Sir, if you don't mind, can you repeat?
Yes, I'll repeat. The point that I was making was about the weak sponsors, and once weak sponsor win the contract, at times their ability to deliver becomes an issue, and as per then the contract, at times it is required that they are substituted by another party. We have seen some of these things happening in the past. 80% of the delayed projects that we see, they belong to weak sponsor. So my question was this: that will we keep on seeing the substitution happening in the future as well? What is your view on this?
Actually, wherever that stuck projects are there, no sir. Suppose if there is a delay in that this one, if from NHA itself we are initiating because we were not going to delay the project. No, we were advising them to go for substitution so that there should not be any delay on the part of project execution.
Okay. And Mr. Sharma, because you lend to all these projects, what will be your perspective on the same issue of a substitution of the weak sponsors?
I would put it this way that
Yeah.
see, earlier, first of all, why there was projects were stuck. So two primary issues. One was the ROW issue, or another is the equity visibility or the weak sponsor issue. Now we have to cut the one and start the other. It is a challenge we always keep facing. So it is the ROW issue because of which the project is stuck, or it is the poor equity issue. So as of now, I think the NHAI has been very proactive, and now they have given the exit options. And we are also seeing a lot of investors trying to develop a relationship with the developers who are stuck. That okay, I give you money, you complete, and after the permitted time, 6 months, which is now, you hand it over the project to me. Yes, some developers still get greedy, and we have seen that they are not able to agree to certain terms. So, and we have also seen, as Mr. was mentioning, some push from the NHAI side. So we, of course, as a lender, keep pushing those developers. See, either you cannot complete it.
Sorry.
The availability of the equity, then it is better you tie up with a entity, with a sponsor who is willing to put in the money and able to give you a reasonable amount of valuation.
But as a banker, I mean, will you keep on giving that choice to the sponsor to move out on their own, or you'll force a change as a lender to the project? Because
we have been forcing or pushing. That's what I was mentioning. We have been pushing them, and we are also seeking the NHAI support because they had a larger hand than the bankers. With the support of the NHAI, we have been able to convince the weak sponsors that it is in the best interest of all the stakeholders that you hand over this project, or you had a tie-up with, let us say, some PE investors who is willing to put in the money, so that the project is completed and you derive a good value out of that. Lenders are happy, NHAI is happy, and the developer is happy.
I know. I mean, it becomes a sort of a win-win for everyone. And it's important because stuck projects don't help anyone. Some resolution and one goes on with life. Mr. Rao, there's one more question that I wanted to sort of touch base with you. We are witnessing a greater competitive intensity as a result of revised MCA and a relaxation in the bidding criteria. A lot of smaller players are now bidding, and that leads to a fear that not so strong parties will possibly get into and create the projects actually could get into trouble or a problem. So the question was, do you see some project delays happening and thereby more disputes? Are there any preventive measures or a safety measures that are built into to address such issues?
Yes, sir. Actually, in order to increase the competition, definitely we have made some relaxations, and accordingly we have received some law of the bids also. Main thing is from NHAI side, we have issued the guidelines or instructions so that there should not be any lapse on the part of the quality of road construction. We have laid down procedures also. We have issued guidelines and circulars also. Wherever low bids are there, what the project director or RO has to take by increasing the supervision to ensure the quality of construction. So in that way, already we have taken a proactive steps. Mainly, they see that the progress is progress is made as per the schedule, and there should not be any lapses on the part of quality. For that one also, we have laid down guidelines we have already issued.
Okay. So I had a similar question for Mr. Sharma as well. In terms of, Mr. Sharma, do you see, as a result of what we just discussed, issues in achieving financial closure for the small size EPC parties securing HAM projects? What has been your experience in this regard?
We see two issues on this side. Sometimes these weak sponsors, they go to certain NBFCs, which actually would not fund but would give an approval so as to demonstrate a financial closure. So in fact, we have been talking to NHAI requesting them that they need to set up in place a system wherein so-called paper financial closures can be distinguished from the actual financial closure. Because when you go to, let us say, any scheduled commercial bank, the bank would certainly examine the equity visibility in detail. Maybe they'll put up at least 50% or 75% of the equity you need to bring upfront, depending upon the condition of the sponsor, which would help demonstrate that the sponsors would have the money. If they do not themselves have the money, that they would tie up with someone else before it is too late to demonstrate the availability of the equity. So yes, challenges are there. I would not say challenges are not there, but then most important thing is we need to take a timely call that whether such sponsors, if they are not able to demonstrate the financial closure in a meaningful way, then we need to move on and find a way to move on.
Okay, so you will be very selective while financing such projects then.
Yeah, so I would only say that there's no harm in giving to the mid-size EPC contractor. Only thing is they need to bid based on their appetite, their ability. So if they're bidding beyond their ability, so unless they have a tie-up, then we need to take a call quickly, yes, whether they can demonstrate the financial capability to compete or not.
Got it. And Mr. Mehta, you know, on the same point, and as a developer, while your company may not be directly impacted, but if a lot of these mid-size and smaller parties come and bid and sort of create, I would not use a word as strong as nuisance, but at times, you know, challenges or problems. So do you see project execution and quality getting affected, impacted? In your opinion, how will you comment on this?
I do agree that due to slight modifications in the MCA regarding certain bidding criteria has resulted in certain smaller players coming and bidding, resulting in opportunity available for the better contractors to get projects and execute them. And I believe there are certain steps already taken by NHAI wherein NHAI has, if the price of the bid is lower than the bid price TPC of NHAI, then they definitely ask for larger performance guarantees, which will help, which will force the contractor to deliver. But apart from that, I think when we are doing financial closures, as Mr. Sharma has put in, the ability to put in equity also should be strong enough, because these projects require equity. It is presumed that the equity will be brought in by the developer, but finally he's got a limitation of strength, and that reason being that we believe that we should have some kind of screening of these smaller contractors. Definitely, competition is welcome. It improves the whole health of the sector. Finally, end of the sector has to grow. Only me growing will not really help me. If the sector grows, we will also gain benefits of the sector.
No, very nicely put. Sector should grow, but the filtering should be stronger to avoid unpleasantness for all the participants involved. Mr. Sharma, I had one question for you. You know, something like we expect a COD of something like 70,000 odd crore worth of HAM projects in FY22 in the current year, and maybe a couple of quarters next year. That is what we also presented in the presentation which Maulesh made just now. So how do you see refinancing opportunities unfolding as a result of this?
I think there are a lot of refinance opportunities are coming to the market. So how do we handle it? I just explained. So not only we, I would say many other banks also. Typically, the bankers would give you a pricing advantage ab initio itself if your rating improves. So maybe as of now you are BBB or you are A. So bankers would offer you a better pricing if you are AA or AAA. So ab initio, you know, yes, once you move to once you complete the project, you are better off. Your rating improves. You move to AA, you move to AAA, and you already have an improved pricing. So there is one aspect that people are looking only at the pricing. Second aspect, many times developer feels that in addition to the pricing, they can also get a top up. So many times they come to the same bankers. Okay, this is the now I have completed the project. Completion risk is over. So can you give me some top up based on the numbers? So we also look at that opportunity. Yes, if by giving a top up, by tweaking the pricing here and there, things are okay, fine. But yes, as you rightly said, all these developers, all these players certainly go to the market and see what best they can get when the project is complete.
Okay, so both pricing as well as a top up is something that they will be coming up for. Okay. Mr. Mehta, one question that I wanted to check with you was how's the toll performance? I mean, and post-COVID, we showed our experience, what we have seen, but it will be nice to hear from you how's the toll performance post-COVID, post-introduction of FASTag with a modified MCA for toll projects, including reduced testing period for target traffic from 10 to 5 years. Do you see there's going to be enhanced appetite for the BOT toll road projects? How do you see this?
Definitely, when COVID set in, there was a lot of fear that the toll, with the way it dropped, and the way the expectation was that economy will not bounce back, was probably mistaken. And immediately after July, August last year, we saw traffic picking up, and on a year-to-year basis also, in spite of the COVID number of months left out, we could see positive. The growth was in positive. So that was a great comfort. Even today, the traffic is good. Though the traffic is majorly contributed by motor vehicle, and this is basically because people are becoming more health conscious and they prefer to travel by private cars rather than public transport. But
Yes.
even otherwise, we do not see a much drop in the commercial vehicles also. In fact, so that shows that the economy is still ticking. So it is growing, and with all the efforts taken by the government, I think so it is already go. When we come back to the issue of BOT projects response, I think when this decision was taken for dividing projects into HAM projects and TOT, I think it was the best game, because risk appetite for every type of investor is different. An EPC contractor has an appetite for maybe 2 or 3 years to invest in a HAM project, but then he wants to get himself liquidated as early as possible, which deep pocket investor, maybe a international investor whose expectation of IRR is comparatively lower, can always step in and take a TOT project. So I believe that a BOT project from an EPC contractor's angle may continue still to be a baggage for him to do. He may probably try to shun, and it would be better to left around that they do their HAM projects and TOT projects come up as early. I'm sure a lot of investors are very keen to take on board TOT projects.
Hey, I agree. So that's pretty nice way to put it. Frankly speaking, we don't have much time now for taking up further questions here. I'm sure the audience is also keenly waiting to ask their questions to the panel. So what we do is, I would like to thank all the panelists once again for their clear and very straightforward answers. We will now start we'll throw the discussion open for a Q&A to the attendees. We'll wait for a minute. The attendees may please punch in their question in the window that has been provided. We wait for a minute for the question to sort of come in. My colleague Rajashri, she will run through the questions and pose them to the person towards whom it is marked. So a minute we wait and we'll start with it. In the meanwhile, all the attendees, whoever wants to ask a question should punch in their question in the window provided. Also indicate if it is directed towards any particular panelist. Thanks a lot. Rajeshri, you may please take over.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So we have a first question which has come up for NHAI from Mr. Rao. So the question is, like, with NHAI actually now launching its InvIT, is it to be believed that TOT will start losing flavor?
No, madam. Actually, you see, asset monetization, these two are the two different instruments. One is TOT and InvIT. So both parallelly will go, madam. And because as the finance minister yesterday announced this asset monetization pipeline, we are having so many assets based on our internal studies. Some of the stretches will offer for InvIT and some of the stretches for TOT. Both they will work. Both will go parallelly.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Mehta, there's one question which has come up. This is with regards to the recent trend of increasing input prices that we are witnessing. So how do you see the operating margins of the developers panning out? I mean, do you think there will be an huge degree of impact on the working capital cycle with the interim relief measures under Atmanirbhar, because they are likely to get discontinued in few months? So what is your view on the impact on the working capital cycle because of the increasing input prices? I think that's the question which our audience has put up.
So I do agree that increasing input prices will definitely have an impact on the margins of the contractors. But I'm sure most of the contractors who are who are actually very experienced will have already budget for this kind of contingencies. And in the past, we have seen that the cycles move into peaks and troughs as far as the prices are concerned. So I think it will correct also in coming future. But till then, definitely there'll be a pressure on the working capital cycle for contractors who are working hand to mouth, and they need to gear themselves for creating safety buckets, safety reserves. Because I do agree of the Atmanirbhar, which has helped the execution of projects by shifting from milestone to monthly payment, which has helped cash flows comfortably for all the contractors and helped in even achieving the 31 kilometers per day target. So from that perspective, they need to get alert today itself, because I think so the scheme is there only up to September end as of date. They may come up for another extension of a couple of quarters maybe, but I think so it's not that it's going to end. It is going to end sometime or the other. So we should be prepared, and we should try to avoid the working capital pressure.
Got it, sir. So what you're saying is there may be an interim blip, but the developers will be gearing to the eventuality and will have to basically gear up to this whole situation and ensure that their margins remain steady. So their working capital cycle may get impacted in the near term, but it should resurrect again.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sharma, there's one question specifically from to a lender. What it says is the under construction projects traditionally have been the lender's baby. So with execution delays, the sponsors also are unable to participate in the new project bids. So what, according to you, needs to be done to correct these?
Primarily, the two issues come up here. One is the ROW related to see if it is a, let us say, recent project, then now NHAI has improved requirement conditions a lot, that only when in case of HAM 80% ROW is available, and in case of the BOT 90%. Other issue is the availability of the equity. So our advice and request to all the developers is always that if you have, see, on the ROW side now NHAI has been supporting a lot, so I don't think the recent projects ROW issues are cropping up. In the older ones, yes, some ROW issues are there which are being resolved. Regarding the equity part, suppose for some reason you are not able to arrange for the equity, then rather than waiting endlessly, which increases the IDC, have a tie-up with the investor or any other sponsor agency, complete and then move on. That is the way out. If you keep thinking that okay, my money is coming here, maybe 1 month I will get here, get from this, or 2 months I will get from there, it increases the IDC and sometimes make the entire project unviable. So it is very important that a timely decision is taken to seek support from outside if for some reason you are not able to manage your own equity requirements. Having said that, I would only say that lenders prima facie look at the beginning itself that the developers have the required equity or not. Of course, the estimates sometimes may go wrong and there may still be shortfall.
Thank you, sir. So essentially, if I understand what you're trying to convey is that there has to be a plan B from the developer side, so as to ensure that the project really doesn't suffer and neither do their equity commitments. So, okay. The last question for today is for Mr. Rao. What they're saying is, in terms of, as seen in the presentation also, close to 5,000 odd crores of worth toll projects are likely to initiate termination, primarily due to the ongoing farmers' agitation. So what are your thoughts on this? In terms of, as a regulator, how do you, what is your comment on such incidents and your thoughts on this, sir?
Madam, actually, this whatever the farmer strike is there now in these states, it has taken as an indirect political event, and some of the toll projects were terminated. And as and when the situation comes to normalcy, again the toll projects will be given for bidding.
Okay, sure. Okay, there aren't any further questions at this stage. So I'll just hand over the session to Mr. Amod Khanolkar for the closing remarks. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rajeshri. That was, frankly speaking, we had a pretty interesting session today in terms of presentation, in terms of a panel discussion, and some of the questions that have sort of come through. If there are any more questions from the attendees side, they may please post to us, and then we'll try to get answers back to that. We frankly speaking, we think that the Indian road sector is gearing up pretty well, both in terms of a policy and execution front. After hearing all the panelists, and we have one from a regulator side, one from a regulator and policymaker, developer, as well as a financier. I would once again thank Mr. Rao, Mr. Mehta, and Mr. Sharma for taking out time to be with us today and share their perspective. I would also like to thank each of the attendees for taking out time and listening to this particular webinar. At the end of webinar, you will receive an email from our side asking for your feedback. Kindly convey your thoughts, and if there are any questions for us or for any of the panelists, please indicate that. We will revert back on that at the earliest. With this, we would like to close this webinar. Once again, thanks a lot to everyone, and have a good evening ahead. Thank you. And you may please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Thank you.